Hello everybody, welcome on in. Give me a second to make sure that everything is working fine. This is working fine. And we can hear me. And the real question is, can we hear my guest as well?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Danae. Hello, the viewers. I am Nebelski,
Hi.
and I wanted to ask you if you could hear me.
That is a really good question. Hand stream. Oh, with the Mickey Mouse. I'm doing promotion for Mickey Mouse. I'll
Wow,
put the Earth instead.
that hand looks amazing on the screen.
Right? HD and everything. Amazing. Guys, can you tell me if the sound is okay, especially my voice compared to Neb's? We don't want one of us shouting louder than the other, basically.
Exactly.
From OBS, it seems to be okay. You'll tell me. All right. So the plan for today is not Morrowind.
How
I know.
how can you not be doing Morrowind? What is this sorcery?
You're right. Let me fire up Mod Organizer. Will change plans. No, it's not Morrowind. We're going to be talking about a board game, and specifically, we will be talking about Gloomhaven. There's a photo here, courtesy of Neb. That's his game.
How surprising!
I'm a
I
little
know this
bit
photo.
louder. Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't you wish you had a setup like that? It's a good setup, isn't it? Before I'm a little bit louder, okay, I'm gonna make myself a little bit quieter. Done. Welcome on in, Veriel, hello. I've seen Prof also, always first, and Joseph/Amalie. So before we talk about Gloomhaven in particular, Neb, tell me, are you actually a what's the word? A board game enthusiast, or are you a Gloomhaven enthusiast?
In a matter of fact, before Gloomhaven, I was not really playing many board games at all. I remember playing some as a child back when I was a teenager, pretty much. But then I stopped playing board games altogether until one day when colleague from work asked me if I like playing board games, and he was looking for another person to join one of his sort of like board game nights/evenings. And I reluctantly agreed, and turned out that it's a lot of fun. And suddenly I was in front of a dilemma, because I looked like I do like board games, but I did not have any of them. So quickly I went online, checked what kind of cool board games which would be interesting for me are there, and Gloomhaven was pretty much number one from what I was checking out. And I bought the base version, and also a smaller called Jaws of the Lion, but I think we'll be talking about that later.
We will. You bought the two of them at the same time, like you were sure you were gonna like it.
Yes, I was quite sure, because I did quite extensive research, and I just got everything I could at that time, and it just arrived in one huge box.
Wow.
It was about 20 kilos, I think, in total.
I have the box ready here, so I can show you guys.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely enormous.
Just look at that. Like, it doesn't even fit on my camera.
Wow, yeah, this tells much about the size, yes.
It's really big and quite heavy, you're right, because it's filled to the rim. To the rim.
In a matter of fact, it's really hard to put it back into the box after you disassemble it.
We'll talk about storage, because that is definitely an issue. But I'm curious, that game that you played with your colleague on those board game evenings, what were they?
I am unsure exactly what would the name of it be in English, because we were playing the Polish versions, because they are not really all that well versed in Shakespeare's language, and honestly, I'm not sure.
What was it about? What was it about?
Well, but it was some sort of like sword and sorcery kind of an affair, where you were controlling a character and sort of traveling through the board game world. And the goal was to get to the middle of the board and fight some big bad guy. But it was a lot of fun.
Well, if you find the name or just have a picture of it, I would be quite curious.
It's the same as in Polish, Talisman.
Okay, Talisman. We were talking about it the other day with Audel, another classic, and I think a number of people in the chat have played it because we talked about it on my Discord. How did you like it?
I enjoyed it quite a lot. I rolled a troll character who is super strong but super stupid, and I sort of got into a slight RP on the table, which sort of got a little bit out of control, which only added to the fun of it. Even though I crushed everyone, they all had a good time.
Good to know. So if we ever do an episode about Talisman, you'd be the one to talk to as well.
I don't think so. I've only had one play of that.
Only one. That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for subscribing, Olaf. There was a follow. Only I could hear the music that goes with it. Prof is saying that Dice Tower. Oh, there's another follow. It's too many followers. I'm the only one that can hear the music. This is very disturbing. Thank you so much for the follows, guys, or the subscribing on YouTube. Same difference. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that one fits, but it's a very tight fit.
Yeah. Prof was saying that Dice Tower had Gloomhaven on their top 10 list of things that designers need to stop doing, games that don't fit back in their box. And really, it is a thing. Usually, though, some games, they come with a box and the box is nearly empty and there's room for the expansions. Which I like.
Matter of fact, I have the expansion for Gloomhaven as well, called Forgotten Circles. But we haven't gotten around to playing it yet.
Okay, all right. So we will keep that one for later. Right. Let's try to describe as simply as possible what Gloomhaven is.
Well, in simple terms, it's sort of like a board game Baldur's Gate, but without much emphasis on roleplay, I would say.
And with a huge focus on the dungeons.
The dungeons and the combat, and especially the tactical side of things. Because contrary to many games, this one does not rely as much on random rolls or card picks as many others. This one is more about your conscious choices of things.
In fact, when I talk with board game enthusiasts and I say, yes, the first game we picked is Gloomhaven, and I go, Gloomhaven, are you mad? Because it's a big game, it's a heavy game, there's lots of things going on, but I keep telling them, say, it's like a video game.
Yeah, it's a video game in analog form, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because what we have is like turn-based strategy, basically, where you have your guys on a map, and you have your skills, and you can move, you can use attacks and different things. It's very much video game-like.
Yeah, the side effect of it being a board game is that you also need to control the monsters, and there is a whole set of rules which you need to strictly follow in order for the game to operate as the designers intended.
Yeah, it's like a tactical turn-based RPG with more work because you have to play for the monsters as well.
Yeah, but I absolutely enjoy doing the monster movements. I know a lot of people do make things more easy for them by using some sort of mobile applications for it, but I never really cared about that. I'm doing everything by hand.
We'll take a look at that as well. Would you say that the game is very complex?
Definitely. In a matter of fact, starting from the base big Gloomhaven might be quite a challenge indeed. That's probably why the designers came up with the other smaller version called Jaws of
Jaws
the
of the
Lion.
Lion.
Yes, that's the one I started with, and I absolutely recommend anyone who would like to try this to get Jaws of the Lion. First of all, it's cheaper, it's smaller, it's easier to store. It's easier to set up because
Yeah.
you don't have this kind of map tiles like you can see on the photo here, but instead your instructions, your book of scenarios is your map. Yeah. This is Jaws of the Lion. So you just, if you want to start a scenario, you just open up the scenario book, and that's your board game. You have everything there. You just put tokens and standees there, and you're good to go. Plus, probably the most important thing is that it comes with a tutorial, sort of like first five scenarios are the tutorial scenarios where they gradually introduce you to the rules without overwhelming you, because the base game has you stand in front of 60 something pages filled to the brink with sort of like lawyer speech of rules, which you absolutely have to memorize in order to do the first scenario. While this one, the Jaws of the Lion, has things unfolding gradually. So I think this is a soft introduction to the game. And these games are almost the same in the end.
They're like, in terms of gameplay and mechanics, it's just same
Also,
thing,
in
I
terms
would
of
say.
a story, they complement each other. Jaws of the Lion is sort of like a prequel. So, in a matter of fact, I think it is meant to be played first.
Daggerthor is asking if it's anything like D&D.
In a way, but not much on the roleplay side. You don't have something like a
Exactly.
dungeon master who would tell you the story. It's more combat focused.
It's the only thing, it's like D&D minus the role playing, minus the talking. It's just most of the gameplay is either in a dungeon where you have those tiles set up and you have your strategic movement,
Yes.
and then you go to town, and that's where you do all kinds of upkeep, you level up, you buy gear and stuff.
Yes, you also can, as you said, you can level up, you can improve your character's equipment. Moreover, you improve the overall wealth of the city where you sort of live, which is also a goal of the game.
So I would say that if you like D&D, and in particular you love developing your character, you love picking your skills, you love focusing on a skill rather than the other, you love finding that one item that is going to complement your skills, you're gonna like Gloomhaven for that, because character building, like skill tree, it's not a skill tree, but the cards you get with your skills is everything.
Yeah, and I must say that the game is also quite challenging. So it's definitely not one of the games where you sort of think of some crazy character idea and just roll with it, and the game will adapt to some sort of, let's say, weak build you have. You absolutely have to sort of number crunch your deck and make sure that you are working sort of optimally in order for the scenarios to move smoothly. That's at least my experience.
I agree. And something we didn't mention, unlike most board games, even though there's more and more like that now, it's a co-op board game where it's you versus the system.
Yeah.
And usually co-op board games, they're tough. Like, they're really, really tough. And you lose, well, as often as if you were playing against somebody, another game, I think.
It's like playing a computer game on like maximum difficulty.
Yeah, you can pick levels and things, but even on level 0, you lose. Yeah, you have to be ready for that.
Definitely, and but it's still a lot of fun sitting together. You can play it for up to 4 players, and yeah, that's a wonderful way to spend an afternoon instead of sitting in front of a PC. In my case, that's probably the main reason why I picked it up, and I ended up enjoying it so much that I dedicated a whole room to this to this game.
I'll show the photo in a minute. I'm still thinking about D&D. One thing that you get when you're doing D&D or any other pen and paper, you get the interactions between the players and the characters. In Gloomhaven, you do communicate with the people you're playing with, but it's all about strategy. You're like, okay, I'm gonna deal with that guy over there, or guys, I can't do anything. You have to cover for me. So you do talk, like there is, talk happening, but I think it's mostly strategy and despair.
Yes, and often enemies are to the point there where they can literally destroy you in 2 or 3 hits. So it's often requiring quite a lot of teamwork and strategy coming from the whole table in order to, for example, disable the enemies, crowd control them in a way where we will be able to overcome them. Otherwise, they will just swarm and destroy us.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's take a look at the game itself because we talk a lot about it, and I have those photos. You've seen, well, that photo on the screen right now is Jaws of the Lion, where you have the book with the scenario and you play on it. Whereas with Gloomhaven, let's put it this straight.
Yeah.
They tell you which tiles you have to take, which tiny pieces you have to place on the tile, and it's a bit of a pain to set up, honestly.
Honestly, not so much once you think it over and purchase a sort of like a sorting device. In my case, it is a small box with many tiny drawers, and
Yeah,
I bought
correct.
that, and that changed my game 180 degrees.
There it is, that one.
Yes, something like this. We just take out the boxes which we need for the scenario, so that's why there is a few missing here. It's not like that I lost them, it's just that they are placed on the table right now. And that makes setting a game up extremely fast. I think nowadays it's like 15 minutes and we are ready to go.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We went the easy way, and I bought the foam thingy, so I have all of them like that. And same for the monsters. Yeah, but that was pricey. Like, there are other solutions, I'm sure. Like, yours is smarter. Takes more space, but smarter. This, I see some cat's hair. Latte, you've been near my game again, haven't you?
You need to introduce Latte to the rules, and he'll be happy to play with you, I'm sure.
He
Definitely
loves Latte.
to move
He loves
the tokens.
Yeah, you mean sort of push them off the table?
Yes.
We've had a couple of catastrophic events where he jumped on the table and then, slid a little bit and all the pieces going everywhere.
You need to start taking a photo after each round in order to be able to get ready for that.
Be prepared. I'm telling you, this guy is lucky we love him. Because otherwise we would have kicked him out so soon. So any sort of a storage system is really, really gonna help, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. As you can see, there is many different tokens to it. I think the game comes with over 1,000 cards, and that's just the cards. Then you have all these small hexagonal pieces, which are sort of parts of the board. And then I see you have the foam for the summons and the letters, which indicates special things happening across the scenario. Yeah, because there's a story to each of the missions. And there's also a main story to the game. It's not like it's just a board game where you just roll with it, pick whatever you want, and just play through it as a single sitting. It's more like a campaign. The game comes with a storybook which you need to follow from start to finish, and it's quite a branching story also, where you make choices, and yeah, it's interesting.
And you know, all of this for board gamers. I don't want to say that all of this was new, because I'm sure they play video games as well. But for me, it's normal. You go through a dungeon, you go to town, you save your game, and then you pick it up. So the whole they call that legacy games, the
Yeah.
sort of games where it progresses. For me, it's the only way I know games almost.
Yeah, they
Playing,
are quite popular these days, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh.
On the other hand, it means you need to take a lot of time.
And also, it's almost impossible to resell it back if when you finish playing it, because it involves opening things which are sealed, and you are when you open them, then it's no longer like it was at the start. Also,
I can show you.
Yeah, some stickers are there to be placed on the map, on the world map, and they are permanently there.
But like, for example, we talk a lot about the dungeons and everything. The light is annoying. We talk a lot about the dungeons, but you also have, when you go to town, you have city events. So you read through it, you make your choice, and then based on your choice, and it looks at your skills, your race, all kinds of things. And either it tells you that you have to destroy the card, which I can't, like I haven't destroyed them. Are you destroying your cards?
No. The author himself, on one of the interviews, said that it's not meant to be
It's
torn
not.
apart.
Okay,
It's
good.
just, he says, it's just a poor choice of an icon. No, we are
Okay,
not destroying
because
them. We do have a bag with let's say, quote unquote, trash, which if something is destroyed, it goes in the bag and we never use it again. And once we are finished, which I believe will happen in like a few years, then we will try to sort the things from the bag back into the box.
Good, because I'm not destroying them either. But in Pandemic Legacy, that is hugely popular, you're supposed to trash the, like,
Oh,
you're supposed to
really?
destroy the
Wow.
cards.
Okay, that is taking it a bit to the extreme, I would say.
Brutal, right?
Yeah.
It's brutal. But it is a fact that even if you don't destroy the cards, it's a game that you're meant to play only once.
Which, let's be honest, it's not a huge disadvantage at all, since you will be playing this for years. If you want to finish everything Gloomhaven box has to offer.
Years, but roughly, this is the first scenario. A scenario like that would take, let's say, a couple of hours, shall we say?
A couple of hours, yes. Yes.
Right. And if we go to the very end of it...
How many scenarios there is? Like 95? And that's just the base
95.
game? 95. So you got 95 scenarios here. Then you have the expansion, Forgotten Circles, and that one, if I am not mistaken, has about 30 more. Then you have Jaws of the Lion, which is 26, I think. And moreover, you can buy, which I ordered, it should arrive maybe next week, a fan-made expansion to Gloomhaven, which is made precisely like the base game, which is another, I think, 60 scenarios, something like that. It's called Crimson Scales. You could look it up. They did the second printing of it, which is already done, but maybe they'll do the third printing. Then you could pledge and get it.
Oh, it's a Kickstarter?
Sort of like a Kickstarter, yeah. Crimson Scales. Yeah, and it's like a full shop. It's all blessed by the author. He knows about it and he approves of it. It's all legit.
Okay, so if you don't have enough of Gloomhaven with the box, you can have more of
the same.
then again, I mean, you do get lots, like a lot of gameplay, many hours. But the base game was, I want to say, 150 euros, pounds slash
Yes, it is
dollars,
quite expensive.
around like that. It is pricey. It is pricey. But if you compare with compare with a video game that you pay 40 quid and you play, I'm gonna be generous, 20 hours.
Yeah.
Do the math.
20 hours is maybe like 5 scenarios in Gloomhaven, and you've got 95 of them.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like in Gloomhaven, which is a pro and a con, there's lots going on. Sure, you have the fighting in the dungeons and but then your character levels up. Then you can improve your skills.
Oh.
Then you can buy stuff. Then you have a personal quest of yours. Then I think I have the card somewhere. Whenever you start a scenario, you have a little card like that with like a little goal that you have. It's like disarm a trap, open a door, kill an elite monster. So it kind of keeps things fresh, and there's all kinds of things to do. Basically, you can go, okay, I need gold. Yeah, go ahead.
We forgot that you also unlock characters throughout the play. You don't have all the characters right off the bat. You have only 6 starting characters, and then there is a whole stack of boxes which are sealed. You have no idea what characters there are, and you need to finish a life goal of your character in order to open one of these boxes. Which is awesome,
Yeah,
I think.
let me show you a little bit.
Yeah, this is one of the starter ones, the Spell Weaver, if I am correct.
That's mine.
I've played the same one. As the
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I'm not surprised. And that's one of the other things that I really like about Gloomhaven. It's fantasy, so you have your might and your magic and your sword and your spells and your... Are there goblins? There are no goblins.
No, all the races are quite unique to the setting, aren't they?
Exactly. Like, this is like a crystal sort of creature. The classes, the races are all really quite different from any other game. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, this is like a crystal entity, and she's got crystals instead of hair.
Yeah. Where's my life goal? I know I have it somewhere.
I tend to always play elves in any game that allows it, but this one actually surprised me with the cool and original ideas for the races, and I was really great with that. I enjoyed it a lot.
So basically, let's take a look about how this game plays a little bit. You have your map with your monsters and stuff, and you start your game with a set of cards. On each card, you have 2 possible actions. So one turn, you're going to select 2 cards.
Yeah, the cards are like numbers, your moves, which you can perform.
Exactly.
And there is also a certain amount of them depending on the class. Like Spellweaver, I think, has only 8. And these are your moves you can do. And each turn, you pick 2 cards, and you are supposed to select upper action from one card and lower action from the bottom card. You do not need to prepare that, okay, from card A, I will do upper action, from card B, a lower action. You can swap this around depending on the tactical situation during the round, but you are committed to these 2 cards, and you need to use one upper action and one lower action. You cannot use, for example, both on both cards the lower action.
Which is a great, like, it's a simple idea, but you have your cards and you go, oh, yeah, I'm gonna do an attack. This is, you can't see it. This is an area attack. But then if somebody played before and killed that group of monsters, then you can go, okay, maybe I'm gonna switch my strategy.
Yeah.
Or it could be, or
sometimes it's as simple as someone comes before you and he just attacks and kills the creature you wanted to fight.
Now, according to the rules, it's a co-op game, but you're not supposed to say very precisely, okay, I'm gonna play my Inferno. I'm gonna light up those monsters, and then I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna move back and go towards that enemy. You're not supposed to tell them exactly
you
what you
just
want
tell
to
them in
do.
general terms what you're supposed to do, and whether you're first or second or whatever, you are not supposed to tell it. You can say that, okay, I will attack fast, or I will be slower this round, something of that sort. But you cannot say, for example, I will start with initiative of 19. This is sort of not according to the rules.
Not according to the rules, but that being said, we don't cheat. We don't say, okay, my initiative is gonna be 7. But after a while, we know the deck of the others. So I would go, I'm gonna be as fast as I can.
And
When I
everyone
play with
knows what is
Aurel, he
going to happen.
knows
Yeah,
that's 7.
that's. I
That's
think
it.
it is part of the charm of this game, that you not only learn your character but also the characters of the people you play with. It's because we play as a team of mercenaries who always fight together. So I think that simulates this sort of like brother in arms situation pretty well.
Yeah, I like that a lot. There's a not the Spellweaver. There's a creature, the Craighheart, like the rock one. Actually, hang on, because you sent me a picture.
Oh
of
yeah, because I
it.
painted them. Normally they come as a white
I don't think I prepared
miniatures.
it, but no, I didn't prepare it. But there is one of the classes where when he attacks, he tends to hurt everything around him. And I imagine that is quite a lot of fun to say, okay, for this turn, stay away from me, guys, okay? Because you know that's going to be very distracting. Oh, thank you.
There it is.
I'm going to have to put that... I'm going to have to move my stuff away.
Yeah, he's pretty funny because he also has rather slow attacks, so people are able to get away from his attacks, but when he launches something, then it attacks usually a huge area.
But he's also like, he's super strong. It's one of the... There he is.
My friend played him, but he tends to go on more towards sort of like roguish characters. He absolutely hated playing this guy.
I thought he was fun. I thought he was quite fun. Now, this might be a good time to mention that when you do get the game... Okay, I'm going to have to hide that. When you do get the game, you get your figurines, your minis, and they're like this. So this is what you get. And after a lot of work and a lot of love, then this is what you can have.
This is actually one of my first paintings ever. This game actually brought me to this whole painting painting hobby. I did not have the paints for that, so I ended up purchasing a set of brushes, a set of paints, and yeah, that's all thanks to Gloomhaven that I started having fun with that, which is another set of hours spent with the game.
That was going to be my question. How long does it take to paint a figurine like that?
It's not that long. This one I think took me about a few hours maybe at most.
Gloomhaven, the game that keeps on giving.
Then there is a whole community of people who add their own extra tidbits to the game. Like, for example, you can replace the tokens with 3D printed things. You can. Some people go as far as they build the whole set of tiles, which are these cardboard tiles. They just make them out of some mass or something, and it looks absolutely spectacular when I saw something like that on the internet. But
there's also a lot of 3D printed elements.
Yeah, you can find them quite easily on the internet for download, even for free. I do own a 3D printer. I've done so far a couple of summons, which I 3D printed, and I've also 3D printed sort of like initiative tokens, which the game normally does not have. But Jaws of the Lion has them, so we came up with our own design for these tokens for the Gloomhaven basic, and we just did them.
Here we were talking about all the characters, so you pick those and you get your card, your starting deck, and then you have these all kinds of things that are sealed.
Oh yeah, these envelopes.
Gosh, just when it says you can open this now, and it is such a victory, like in itself. You're like, yes, I'm getting somewhere, basically.
This is an absolutely great idea, and especially the one which you just shown. It was a surprise because in my box, this one was sort of like hidden beneath that plastic form where all the other things were, and I was just looking at it at the box and just picked it up. I don't know, I just wanted to clean it up or something. And I'm like, oh, there is an envelope here. And then I added this one to the stack.
Have you opened it yet?
No, I have not.
Do you feel you deserve it yet?
No, I think we will open it when we finish the base game, and we'll start with either the Crimson Scales or the Forgotten Circles, because in our case, the campaign is going to be at least 3 times as long as the base game, thanks to the additions.
So much. So now I wonder how many people in the chat are already thinking, yeah, no, this is too much. Too much. I don't want something that takes so much time. I don't know, but it's definitely a time investment. A lot of fun, but it will take time.
Yeah, but for people who don't have that much time, Jaws of the Lion is the game to go to, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Have you finished Jaws of the Lion, or have you just
no? Like that's something that I explained earlier, but I knew I wanted to play board games. I was like, I want to do that. And I found, I'll see if I can find it again. I found a sort of a chart that tells you which board game is for you. Let's see if I can find it. It's not going to be very hard to find, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's always when you're looking for something that you can't find it quickly.
Because I knew I like this, and I knew that Jaws of the Lion is like a prequel to the story, so we deliberately started with that one, and we actually finished it already. But it took us half a year or even more to finish Jaws of the Lion. We were playing once a week, usually one scenario per week. Yeah, that's how we play.
That's the one. How to pick the perfect board game.
Oh, okay. I have not seen this.
Let me go to the start. Brain burning. So that's where you start. And I was like, I don't want to play solo. I want to play without it.
Yeah.
2 players or more. 2 players, of course. Kick each other's ass or team up. And I'm like, co-op? Yeah, I like that. Does it have to be war?
Not necessarily, no. I guess.
I think I missed something because I'm so zoomed out. Oh, hang on, they've updated it. Have they changed it? No, here. This is where we were. 2 players, go on an adventure together. Yes. Open world or dungeon? Dungeon. Gloomhaven. So when I picked it, I had no idea what it was. I had done 0 research. I didn't go to... I can put this link in the chat for everyone. I didn't go to Board Game Geek. I didn't know that was a thing. Nothing. And then when I got the box, I was like, Okay. This is promising. Yes,
Wow, that's crazy. On the
this
good
is it.
note,
I was
you
like,
got probably one of the biggest games ever made as your first game.
yeah, and it's much later that, I mean, much later, once I got the game and I started researching, Gloomhaven is or has been the #1 board game on Board Game Geek, which is
Oh yeah,
apparently
it was like
the
this for many
reference.
years. I don't know if it's still on #1, but yeah, it's stayed there for quite a
I think
while.
it is. I think it is. And Jaws of the Lion is not too far behind as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And then they
it's not like
also
I was like, "What's the best game? You're #1. I take you." It was coincidence.
Now they also are releasing, or have they released the next sort of chapter in the story, which is Frosthaven?
Frosthaven.
Yeah, it was not published in Poland yet, and unfortunately, due to the fact that my friends don't really speak English too well, we are waiting for the Polish translation, which should happen probably next year. So I did not get that one yet.
And honestly, you still have things to play
Oh,
until then.
definitely. I will not touch Frosthaven for quite a while, but it's on the to-do list.
Definitely is. Let me close this. All right, what else do we need to know about Gloomhaven? Is there something we've been going like, oh, it's so good, it's so amazing. Is there anything that could be improved, in your opinion?
Well, honestly, I would prefer if all these cardboard standees were actually also plastic miniatures.
Minis.
Yeah. But I cannot totally see why they have done it this way, because otherwise the price would go up tremendously. Not even talking about the size of the box.
To be perfectly honest, I'm the other way around. I think I would have been perfectly happy with my character being a standee like that.
Oh, I see.
So this is what it looks like.
It's probably coming down to the fact that I do enjoy painting them quite as much as I do.
But that's the thing. Like, if the minis arrived painted and beautiful the way you have them, yeah, please give me the minis. I will pay extra money to have everything as a mini and it's beautiful. But since I'm not painting them, I would rather have the standee.
Oh, okay,
personally.
yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, definitely.
Because it doesn't look the same. But then your minis painted, my gosh, they're beautiful.
In case of some of the items, I think in general the items in this game are quite underwhelming most of the time. Often times when we check the shop
like
and
the gear.
see what is available, then for example the armors are quite weak. They let's say they protect you from taking 1 point of damage, and then you sort of use them up, and you need to rest in order to use them again. It's quite
that's so
silly
funny.
sometimes.
It's like that symbol there that says you can use it, but then it's been used and you can't use it again until you rest. It's like it's a one-use shield.
Yes, one-use shield. Maybe your character needs to sit in the corner and bring out a hammer and just hammer out the dent in it in order to feel happy to use it again.
Yeah, that doesn't make great.
So I think in case of these items, the realism of the scenario and the situations your character is up against could be definitely improved. Then on the other hand, you have items which are extremely OP, like the power potions which you have here. I don't know if those are the power potions. No, not the power potion. There's the other one which lets you.
That's a minor one.
Yeah, which lets you the other one which lets you take your used cards back on your hand, and you can have 2 of those potions because you can have a minor one and a larger one at the same time. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna take 5 cards back from the ones which I used, just like that. So I think these things are a little bit not perfectly balanced, just in my opinion.
Dim is saying that it looks like there's a lot to keep up with.
Oh, absolutely. You need to have a certain mindset. My friend who also was not playing board games like ever, and I brought him to the table, and he's playing now for about a year with me. When he says about the rules, he's like, this game should be played by people who want to become lawyers because the rules are written in such a strict fashion that basically if it is there is nothing against certain action in the rules, you can do it. But there is a lot of rules which you need to remember in order to be able to play it.
Like I agree. On the other hand, there are lots of ways where you can alleviate the the housework that goes with it. There's let me see. You get the monsters with the standees. We bought these standees. So you put your monsters in them as well.
That is very nice. You basically can count their hit points using that.
Right there, which is so good. And there's also room, you have those little tokens for status, and you can put them here as well, and it's a lot easier to track what's going on. Otherwise, you have your enemies on there. And then let me see.
There
let
are
me
special
show another
envelopes
photo.
otherwise for the characters and the NPCs, and
That's the one.
you track these stats on them.
Yeah, that's not a better photo. I'll find it. I know I have it somewhere. It's one of those.
It has to be somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the photo I was showing all the time, and now I've lost it. Okay, never mind. I mean, this is what we have, and you would put. It's very clever, that little envelope system, because you put the card of the enemies in there, and depending on the difficulty, you would show one side or the other, and then you have the hit points, and then you have tokens. I don't have them here, but. And then you have damage tokens, and you go, okay, rat number 7 has 1 point of damage.
Yeah, that's how
we do it. And then up here it says how many hit points they have. But you're playing on that board here, and you have this next to it. Like you just need to pay attention to a lot of things happening.
In all honesty, you get used to this system quite fast. At the beginning, I was confused as well, especially where the numbers you put on this small envelope is the damage taken, rather the amount of hit points left on the monster. That was very confusing at first, but now it's no longer an issue. It just goes naturally. Someone attacks, something takes damage, I immediately just take out the tokens, put them on the envelope. So I think it's just a matter of getting the brain muscle memory to cooperate with you.
Just getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would go back with this one, because
it's
creatures
also
have a
looking.
number. It looks good also. And then so if you have 2 of the same enemy's type, which happens, there's number 1 and number 6, and the damage and their status is here. But on the board, you have to go, oh, which one? Here, I see how many hit points they have. I see if they have a status effect, without having to refer to this, and without having the cat that makes everything go away.
My goal is to eventually just 3D print all the monsters. That's why I did not look into replacing the standees, because eventually I will not be using any standees, so there's that.
That's the plan. That's a good plan. Speaking of the status effect, there's a lot of them, but again, when you play RPGs or turn-based, any sort of RPGs, you used to, like, you know the concept of status effects.
Yeah. Also,
so that was not difficult, I think.
Also, when I play, I always just I sort these small tokens, so I have them always in the same order. So whenever something happening, I just instinctively take out the correct status token and just put it on the envelope. After so many weeks of playing, it's easy now.
You have everything sorted, basically.
Yeah. If you show that picture with the overall view of actually, I think we are missing one photo.
Yeah, I think I must have closed it by mistake. Oh, there it is.
There was hold on. I'll put it on the chat. There it is. That's
Yeah, that's the. Oh, let me show you guys. Here we go. This one, right?
Yeah, you can see the envelope here. Anyways, that seat with the drawers, the one on the right, and there is this desk there, and you can see all the tokens placed there in sort of groups. So that's where I sit.
This
and
is this is your station.
Yes, this is my station. I have some small things in those drawers as well. So whenever we do something, I just open the drawer, take things out, put them there. And the envelopes with the character hit points I usually place on top of that big map, this overworld map, which is on the back there. In here, in case of the picture, I've put them on the big table because I did not want to cover the big map there. So yeah, the game is massive, and if you want to set things up like I have, it takes easily 2 tables.
So here's the thing, though. I'm gonna come back. Here's the thing. The game is big. The game takes some time to set up. The game takes space. But if you have the space for it, then you're golden.
Yeah.
Because like you're gonna play a scenario and possibly you're gonna fail. If you have a table for it, it stays there until you go at it again.
Yeah, in my case, I have it at my attic, where usually nobody ever goes unless they want to take out some odd onion or something for cooking. So this is
What's
ideal
up there?
place
Gloomhaven
for
and onions.
Gloomhaven to rest.
It is truly ideal.
Yeah.
Mini Roach was saying you can choose compete instead of co-op.
Oh, when we were
I've never heard. I mean,
when you were showing that little chart, you accidentally picked compete. When there was this
I see.
section
I see.
where the question was.
I see.
Yeah.
I was trying to think if there is a way to play Gloomhaven in a competitive way.
No, not really. And although it did cross our minds to try to fight against each other once, but we have not gotten around to it yet. Technically,
Okay, no,
there is nothing against it because you have the cards, you have the hit points just like the monsters. So technically, it would be possible. The only rule you need to change is that something affects enemies. Then you need to replace it with it affects everyone. And there you have a co-op, a competitive version of Gloomhaven.
And it becomes even worse. I have a serious question for you, Neb. At which point do you need a screwdriver?
Oh, the screwdriver.
Like,
this is my secret weapon in order to place the cardboard standees in those plastic the cardboard silhouettes of the monsters in the standees. I place the screwdriver into them, and then it sort of opens up the leaves on the standee, and then I slide the cardboard into that.
Okay. True, to get them to go in there without having to fight with it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. One of the other things that we were talking, like, it takes space, and you have 2 tables, which is ideal. We only have 1. So we also got ourselves something to organize the player board, but we went for something like this. So it's nice and compact because you get your character here, you get your modifier deck here, and you go like that.
We bought similar, as you can see on the photos, but ours is made out of laser cut wood instead of plastic.
I've seen a lot of those also for storage. They look good.
Yours is definitely more compact and easy to store. But I think I like mine a bit more in case of a larger space, so we have easier time just tracking things on a larger board.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. You just need to sort of have a setup that streamlines the setting up, the playing, the packing possibly, or no packing is
Yeah,
best.
we
We can
never
keep it down
pack
there.
it. I've unpacked these games last year in, I think it was March or April, and since then this room has never been cleaned as in the game was
Cleaned.
the game was never packed. It was cleaned, but the game was never packed back into the box. It just stays open since then.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's ideal, honestly. I'm gonna have to tidy all of that later. I got pieces of Gloomhaven everywhere.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't like in games, but especially in board games, is the luck factor. You know, losing the game because you were unlucky, or even winning it because you got lucky. How important would you say luck is in Gloomhaven?
Oh, even though they say that it's like they call it Euro style game, where apparently the luck is minuscule, I think in this case it plays a great role as well. Because even though you have a great deal of complexity and ability to pick what you want to do, where you want to go, what's going to happen, you can see what the monsters will do. But in many cases, the monster movement is completely random, and it can royally screw you over if you, in certain cases where you are sometimes basically just a single unlucky monster move or unlucky card draw can literally fail a scenario. That's my experience with it. But having said that, good strategy and good skill usage in the right moments can be extremely helpful, and it reduces this risk. So it's like, I think, in the middle. A bit of it is dependent on luck, but a lot of it also depends on your choices. It's definitely not one of those games where you just roll a dice and see what happens. Definitely not.
Agreed. One of the biggest luck element is what they call the modifier deck. So you have your card and you play your skill and you attack, and you have, this is a bad example. You have a card and it says you have attack power 3, but then you draw a modifier and it turns out into 4, which is cool. And the same happens for all the players and all the monsters as well, meaning that so occasionally you get a critical, you get a -2, that sucks.
You can get
Or you
also
get
absolute luck with
critical
damage.
failure.
Yeah.
And so there is luck in that. However, it is mitigated by the fact that when you level up, you can choose to have, they call them perks, and you have a perk where you remove a -2 and you put a +0 instead.
Definitely, yeah.
This is something that you build as well. So you can mitigate the luck.
Yeah, it's part of character progression. However, you always are left with one critical success and one critical fail, which is always out there in the deck.
Then again, it's a board game, so you can house rule it.
Technically, yes, but we chose
If
to
you
play
want to.
with them, with the critical fails. I must say that some of the best moments we had came from the fact that people were extremely unlucky, and we ended up sort of pinned in a corner with everyone rolling critical fails and the monsters almost slaughtering us. But then somehow, by completely overthinking our strategy, we were able to finish often in the last possible round, which was amazing. I love these kind of moments when it happens.
You talk about rounds. Like a dungeon is just a few rounds, like a dozen rounds. And almost every time we've won a scenario, which is not that often, it was at the very last moment, or like, I am down to my last card. This is it. But that's something we didn't mention. You have a number of player cards, and your cards also work as stamina, basically.
Yes.
When you use them, they're discarded, and then you can rest and you can take them back, but you lose one every time. So by the end, you're down to 2 cards, means you can play 2 rounds, and then you discard 1, you rest, you have 2, you play 2, and then that's it, you're exhausted. And usually when we win, I'm like, this is it, this is my last round. After that, I'm out.
That's also part of the strategy where you need to think of what you are going to use in subsequent rounds. Because at first you have your full set of moves, full set of cards, and you are up to choose whatever you want. But once you choose those 2 cards, they are gone from your hand, and you can't use them again until you rest. So sometimes, even though a certain card is great for the situation, it is good to maybe use the second best option because the one you would like to use, for example, has an absolutely awesome second ability, which you might plan ahead and use it later.
This is like there's if you like turn-based strategy, you're going to enjoy the combat very much.
Definitely, yes.
Because there are some cards, like this one is super powerful. I do attack 3, it's not a lot, but for my character it is quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to damage 3 tiles, that's nice. And on top of that, if there's any magic element active, I get extra XP, and this is range. Brilliant. But you see this, it means this card is out for the whole scenario. Well, this one, I use it, well, the attack is fine as well, and then it's discarded, and I rest and I can take it back. So if you go for your heavy hitters that Neb was mentioning just now, like these, you're going to run out of cards really quick. Really, really quick. So you have to wait for the most opportune moment.
Yeah.
Looking at the cards I want to play.
There is a lot of thinking involved in playing this game.
Yeah, if you like strategy, you'll love it. If all of this feels overwhelming, it's like, what? I have to keep track of my hit points, I have to keep track of the enemy's hit point, I have to keep track of the turn for everyone, I have to keep track of the status effects for everyone. Geez, I just want to play. How can we increase the playtime and reduce the upkeep?
Well, you are the expert. You use the application.
I do, but I like your solution very much. The way you organize the tasks for everyone in your party.
Oh, true. Yes, we play as a party of 3, and I tried to lessen the amount of stuff required by me, because I as the owner of the game, my friends agreed that I should do the monster movement because I know the game the best. But I came up with the idea to sort of mitigate that and have them do stuff as well. So, for example, while I move the monsters, they, for example, can assign the statuses or do the damage roll for the monsters, and basically there is ability to do it this way, so that everyone has something to do when it comes to the system side of things, and that helps a lot. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to do it. Then it is true they are apps that do help. Let's see. I did get a few.
I'm quite
there
interested
is
in
one.
that app because I did see it. I even downloaded it for once to check it out, but I was not overly impressed by it, to be honest. Maybe you have a better one, and also, in my opinion, it sort of lost the charm of playing the actual board game. Because I'm an avid computer game player, so having anything with on an application on a phone or something, it sort of removed this whole idea of playing without the digital side of things.
Do you know this one? The what's it called? Foreteller, I think.
Okay, I've seen a different one. I've seen a different one, but
there's a lot. But to show people on the chat. When you start your scenario, you read your little introduction, Like you have, this is more or less, this is the GM
Yeah, that's what I
telling
usually
you
read.
this, what the situation is. With this app, you can actually listen to it.
Hmm.
And it is done, yes, I did finish this. It is done honestly quite well. There is reduce the sound, but you have the sound effects. The voice acting is good. So it does add to the atmosphere. And also what I do, I go to YouTube, and when we are in a, say in a tunnel like that, I go D&D music, dungeon crawling.
That's a great
And so
idea.
we have,
Yeah,
it's so good.
we have
so
a similar
good.
thing. I have a set of speakers there on in that room, and I usually just set up a playlist to play during the session. So there is a little bit of this RP feel to it. I like that.
Yeah. They're like,
While
you should, the D&D music is definitely,
Definitely.
great.
when I read through these introductions, I usually just do some sort of like small voice acting while reading the lines which the characters say, and supposedly my friends really love that. So I think I'm happy just reading it by myself.
Well, I mean, I remember your on Morrowind stream, your Julan
Oh
reading
yes.
was always so yeah. I would switch for a neb reading rather than the app. Though it's nice to have, like, you hear the swords clashing and the doors creaking, that sort of thing. It's very
Absolutely.
immersive.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we use for combat. So you select the scenario, you select the difficulty level, and then you see, you go up, new round, and you see these are cards in the game. I should explain that. These are cards for each monster, and every turn you have to flip the card for the monster to do the action. So this does that. The modifiers happen here, because normally that's another card that you have to flip. I like this the most. I'm not sure, I can't zoom though. I like this the most because it tells you the hit points for the regular one, for the elite one. If you go on a different difficulty level, then these change.
Yes.
So it's a lot easier to track.
I can see that.
So between this and
the,
this, it's quite easy to keep track of monsters.
I could sum it up as this basically replaces that second table I have, where I have all this system info and what I have to keep track of. You have it in the iPad.
That's exactly it. And again, for us, space is the biggest issue. When we first played the game, we were playing it on the floor.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. But it can also be relaxing, especially if you can just lie down in front of it.
You forget, I have a cat.
Well,
so
depends on the cat mood. Some people say cats sleep 17 hours out of 24. So you just need to pick time when your cat is sleeping.
If the cat's sleeping, let's do it now. Actually, hang on. I can... Oh no, the cat is gonna be upside down. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, so cute.
My cat on. Oh, too tired. Okay, let's come back. And you see the train. You have now all seen a Swiss train. Congratulations.
Wow, that's a high quality train.
They're actually pretty good, honestly. Yeah. I won't lie. So yeah, this essentially replaces all the envelopes that you have to keep for the monster, as well as the modifier deck that you keep for the monsters, and you would have multiple monsters at times.
Yes.
As well as, I don't have them here, but as well as these cards that you keep for the monsters.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that seems extremely useful indeed. I'm still happy using the physical thing. But
this is especially good.
I guess it's just something that I enjoy, and that's why I do it this way. But this seems way more practical. I will not deny that.
Especially with a low player count. Like you can play solo, but if you play solo, I've tried, but then you have to keep track of everything by yourself, and you play a lot less, basically.
Yeah. Although for solo play there exists the actual computer game Gloomhaven. I think that's the best way to play it solo.
The next thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to sum up, if you think you would like the game, but you're like, this is too much, you can. There are things that, like these, to help you keep track of your characters, or those to keep track of the monsters. Apps, all kinds of things. This app in particular, there's the combat. That's the only thing I use, but it also keeps track of your party, of each of your characters. It can keep track of everything. I think there's the map somewhere.
You mean the world
why?
map?
Yeah, why would you want to have this on an app when you can have it on your wall? I'm not sure if I can show you.
Yeah,
there, it's on my wall.
Well, you need to have an empty wall where you can hang it. That's the problem.
Yeah. We don't have a lot of space, but we do have empty walls, so the map is secure.
Yeah.
But the apps can make things a little easier to run, but I think having multiple players is even better.
Absolutely.
If that is still a little too much, then yeah, I would recommend the video game. I can show it to you.
The video game also comes with multiplayer component.
Yeah.
So you're able to play it just like the regular board game with friends. Well, this is probably the main way to play it when you are not in the same room, because well, let's be honest, a lot of people want to play together, but they are completely apart. So of course there are those tabletop simulators which you can use. On the other hand, you can just use the computer game version, which is quite a faithful adaptation. I think all the rules and all the cards, all the abilities are the same. The story is the same. It does not contain the Forgotten Circles expansion, but it does have the Jaws of the Lion.
I haven't bought it. So, and also there's a couple of like house rules. One of them that I really like is that your summon will, if there's no monster, will take one step towards you.
On its own,
and that is so
if
good.
you are, for example, in a room where there are no enemies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because normally normally the summon follows the rules of monster movement, and rules of monster movement say that if the monster does not see any enemy in its line of sight, it does not move. So the summon also, if it sees no one to fight, it just stands still and, I don't know, eats some grass on the floor. That's what it does.
And when you have a slow summon, like this character, that's the one I was showing you, she has a summon and it takes 1 or 2 steps, I forgot. Oh, there she is. And this is the better summon, actually. And then it just stays there, and then by the time it tries to catch up to where the action is at, it's like, what's the point?
Pretty much they are situational only. I only used my summon in a room where there is a lot of enemies, and I knew that she will not follow me to the next room. So it was just for that. I treated it like the card which is lost after usage.
Yeah, and the thing is, the summon is one of those cards that when you use, it's burnt.
Yeah, most of the time,
it's active,
yes.
and then it's burnt. So you don't want to summon too many summons because you have fewer cards, and then that means that you won't last as many rounds. There's a lot of strategy. That's really, really nice. Anyway, this is what it looks like. I was reading the comments on the board game, and some people, not the board game, sorry, on the video game.
Yeah.
And some people were saying, oh, this is so slow. Why is it so slow? But I think that's the people
super fast
who haven't...
compared to the real thing.
Exactly. Exactly. But if you've only ever played tactical RPGs, like video games, this feels quite slow because you go, oh, you're going to play this card and this card. Now you're gonna play this card and this card. And you're gonna play this card and this card. And you're gonna play. I'm making terrible choices there.
Yes, you are just doing it to
Now
show it how it works.
I've selected my cards. Enemies also get their cards. Continue. And you're like, okay, I am the fastest. I can play either this one and this one or this one and this one. And I go, okay, I'm gonna move.
You know what I don't like about the game? That it showed what the enemies will do, but after you clicked continue, it just hid that. It is often very important for me to see what the enemies are doing, and that's what I base my decisions on.
But you would like this to always be there rather than when
it really confuses me in the computer version where I can't see them.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And then when you have selected your movement, you can go confirm the movement. Okay. And now, yes, I have a thing that makes me. And then I can heal myself, which is very stupid. It's a bad strategy. But like, and then that's the end of my turn. And you see how, oh, there was an enemy right there. I can see how that feels extremely slow. But it is like if the idea of the board game is something that appeals to you and the strategy and your character leveling up and everything, then the video game is a good option.
I also like the video game you can play in co-op with friends. So that also speeds things up because you no longer have to select the attack for all 4 of your characters, but only your character, while the other 3 are controlled by your friends.
Yeah. So it is a good option. To be honest, I prefer the board game. What do you? I think you prefer it as well.
I prefer it as well, although I've been thinking of picking this up to play it with a couple of people who are unable to play the board game with me because they are in different countries right now.
I'm in a bad way here. I mean, they have shields. My attack is 2. This is not happening.
This is an exact best way to say why this game requires a lot of strategy. When you pick your skills at random, this happens. You cannot do anything, and you will just get crushed.
You know, we were talking about luck. If you don't have a good strategy, no amount of luck is going to save you.
Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
However, even with a good strategy, you can be terribly unlucky and not win.
Yeah. Just like in real life.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think the luck factor in this game is unfair or particularly upsetting.
I think it's meant to enhance the gameplay rather than hinder it. That's the aim.
And
sometimes, of
let's
course,
be
cards are
clear.
cards, and things can happen that you keep rolling those critical misses. But we ended up shuffling the decks in sort of like a poker style, where the person who has the deck shuffles it and then hands it over to someone on the side who swaps the stack. That helped a lot because it ended up that each of us was instinctively sort of shuffling the cards in the samey way, which sometimes led to funny situations. But now we do it in a way that different person shuffles different decks, and that added a lot of sort of randomness to the shuffling, which helped a lot in the end.
I agree. And honestly, I wouldn't want to have the modifier. Here I have attack 2 and I know he's got a shield 2. So if we didn't have the modifiers, I know I will never hit them. Here I can go, you know what? If I pull a +1, maybe, let's see, how is it? I select my guy. Confirm my target. Oh yes, I charmed them. And modifier 0, nothing happened. But like with the modifiers, you can hope. You can hope for the best.
Yes, and the stronger your character gets, like you said, those modifiers increase upon your choices which you make on level ups, and they get stronger in time. There is 9 levels each character can earn, and the leveling process takes a while. It's definitely not going to be 9 scenarios to get to the max level, so you can think of your character being the one you will play for a long time. If you play once a week like we do, then you can keep that character for a very long time.
Have you retired a lot of characters?
I have retired one myself. One? Yeah, one.
How did that feel? Was that finally I can play someone else, or were you like, oh?
In a matter of fact, I sort of felt at peace with that, because my character had a very strange life goal. I don't know if that is much of a spoiler, but that involved me having to die on every scenario as much as I can. That was very strange, and well, I was kind of happy to get a different life goal, because you pick them at random at the start.
That's what I wanted to show you. I found my life goal. So you have a life goal. Mine is to enchant 4 items of purchase 4 enchantments, which is so hard. And when you do, you unlock a character.
Oh.
And this one is the Sun Summoner, and I want to play it so bad.
This
but
will
when you
take
do get
forever.
your life goal,
this will take forever.
No, like I got 1 so far, and they get more and more expensive over time. Yeah. But when you reach your life goal, that's it. You retire your character, whether you're level 1 or level 9. That's it.
Yes.
But
you can
get to open a new box. You could. You really could. But the box, and I think that's the problem with my biggest problem with the video game version. You still get to unlock characters and stuff, but it's not nearly as rewarding as getting an envelope and finally removing that seal and opening your new character's box and looking at the skills that you have and selecting the first one, you know.
The tactile feeling of just opening it up, it's all so neatly packed, and it's just extremely rewarding in a way.
It's Christmas. Agreed. It's Christmas every time.
Definitely.
And when you level up, there's, I got everything mixed up.
You will have a lot of cleaning up after this.
Yes, I will have to reorganize things. But there it is. The cards, your skill cards have levels. So when I get to level 7, they are 2 level 7 cards, but I can unlock 1. So you like, you know, decisions matter. It's like, what are the new cards? Do I take a new card, or do I take the second card in level 6 that I really liked?
Yeah,
character building.
The character building is real in this, even though it's just a simple deck of cards. It actually matters quite a lot. There are many, often in characters, there is many paths you can take. For example, like those summons you mentioned, there are characters which have a lot of these summon cards, and you can build them like sort of summoner. But then again, if you pick different level up cards on the subsequent levels, then you could very much make a nuker out of that and just forgo the whole summoning business. So yeah, the choices are many, and it's quite involved.
Agreed. Another thing that I really, really enjoy, there's the artwork. Like, I only took 1 card to show you, but I think the style of the artwork is really quite beautiful. More characters here. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Trust me, the artwork is beautiful.
Yeah, the Crimson Scales, which I mentioned before, that fan-made expansion, it's quite interesting because the authors got in contact with the actual person who did the artwork for the original Gloomhaven, and he was happy to paint everything for them as well.
That's very neat.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you want things to match. You want them to look like they belong to the same game.
Yeah.
So
I usually,
that makes sense.
usually, almost always actually, paint the miniatures based on these portrait pictures. So I try to make them look like that. I've seen on the internet that a lot of people just go wild and paint them however they want to, but to me it's not really rewarding. I'd rather just choose the portraits which came with the game and then try to match the colors and the shading just like it is on the artwork.
I think if I was to paint the minis, I would do the same. But that's yet another thing in favor of the game. That's another choice that you have. You can keep your minis unpainted. You can paint them. You can paint them according to what you have, or you can go with something completely different and make the characters completely yours, I guess.
And then you can start adding more, like I before mentioned, you can start replacing the standee cardboard enemies with the either 3D printed ones or just purchase some miniatures for war games and use those as instead.
Let me see. I want to find. Oh, I've seen something on Gloomhaven that I think I would really like to get. Those, where are they? The goals you get for each scenario. Yeah, I took all the cards out and I can't find them. You know, the one that says, in this scenario, you should get 5 gold. In this scenario, you should do this, you should do that. There is... where I can never find my favorite things. But you can get more of these cards if you want it. From I'll try to find it. For now, I'm trying to find the 3D elements for the game.
Keep searching. Just wanted to mention that right now your screen is obscured by the green screen thing.
This one is ugly. I can't find a pretty one.
You mean like the obstacles and the other elements which are on the board?
But there's more for sure.
I was thinking, speaking of these rocks, the red rocks which were there, I was thinking of making them out of real stones and then just glue the stones on cardboard hexes and then just add some sort of miniature grass tufts and just paint it on. That would look nice, I think. Oh, this is really good. I like this.
But yeah, I've seen this one is like completely changing everything. I've seen others that just add the walls around and then the elements in the middle, leaving the floor as such.
If you would like to 3D print this, it turns out extremely expensive because the price of resin is quite high.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
There's pretty trees, traps. Like essentially, this one is a full pack. There are other ways to enhance your experience.
Yeah. This is like the whole Pandora box. when you start adding, then the sky's the limit, and you could literally replace everything with miniatures or 3D prints.
This is what I was telling you about. And it's true that these cards in the base games, like you have a small pack of them, and they can get a little repetitive. Well, these add a lot more.
So it's like a battle goal DLC.
Exactly. However, that's what people were saying. They include the battle goals that you get from Jaws of the Lion.
I should just mix them up together, actually.
You
Because
haven't?
I have both games, and I did not think that it is allowed to mix them together.
Yeah. If I had both games, that's what I would do, yes. Varian is saying, one thing about a lot of those figurines that they can be just be used seamlessly with other tabletop games. Absolutely. Like, especially if you do D&D, then you have figurines already.
Yeah, they
You
have in
can,
pretty
you can-
standard size, like on the D&D board, they would fit seamlessly.
And since the races are quite unique, they are the sort of characters that are certainly a lot of fun to roleplay, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And when you have a life goal, which is really strange, like the one I had, where I had to
Kill
die on every
yourself every
scenario,
time.
that led to a lot of battles screaming on my side on the table and just rushing with my tiny sorceress in front of the massive monsters just so that they can
So
slaughter
how
her.
did you do that? Did you wait until you could see that in this scenario your party was not going to make it, so this was a perfect time to just die?
Oh no, the life goal works in a way that you have to finish the scenario successfully for the life goal to sort of tick towards the success.
It's horrible.
So that was a lot of balancing on my part. On one hand, I had to help all the team in order to succeed. On the other hand, while helping, I was supposed to die. And the third thing is the battle goal, which you also want to keep in mind and try to succeed in that in order to increase your character's perks later on.
Yeah, I can imagine that was very tricky.
Quite a lot.
Now, this is something that I'm also planning to get. It adds bounties. So, in addition to the scenario goal, you have particular bounties as well for your character, and each character has different ones. This
So
is
you
also a
are supposed to
fan-made
hunt
thing.
certain monsters, or how does that work?
Well, I haven't looked too much in depth. There's a set of rules that goes with it. But you know, if you want more, and this, I mean, here they're on Etsy and you can buy them, but the guy who made them, you can actually print it yourself as well.
Oh, great.
Which is so even as it is, there's so much more that can be done.
Sounds great.
Too much, honestly, too much. There we go. I like those. Honestly, these are beautiful. Then you even added the grass.
Well, I'm quite surprised how well they turned out because, like I say, these are the first miniatures I have ever painted. Of course, I was making some models and stuff before, but never miniatures. So I suppose a lot of skill overlaps in this department. So it wasn't as hard for me to start, but yeah, still it was a new experience. But I enjoyed doing these painting sessions quite a lot. It's also something to do in between the gaming.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because one of the disadvantage of board games, although they are solo board games, Gloomhaven can be played solo, but you need somebody to play with you. So especially when it's a legacy game like a campaign game, then you need to meet regularly. Though I will say for Gloomhaven, you're a group of mercenaries, so nothing stops you from saying, well, whatever, the spellweaver is busy doing something else, and only take 3 of you guys because one of the players not around. You could do that.
Yes, you can. Moreover, you can have multiple parties of characters play at the same time. If you, I've seen quite a few dedicated Gloomhaven players who play in multiple groups with the same copy of the game. Because
I see.
it is possible, and you can still do the same campaign as 2, for example, parallel groups.
Because I didn't think of that, but you have your envelope with your character and your skills, and You just come with your envelopes and your skill and your modifier deck.
Yeah,
And
moreover,
you can-
you have that little sheet of paper where you have written down your level, your perks. So if there is a second person who plays on a different day, which plays the same character, then it's possible to just change the build to suit that person, and you still have the information necessary to get back to the original build which you normally play with.
That's if you're really, really enthusiastic.
Yeah,
like keeping
and
track of
if
your
you have
character.
really lot of time, because unfortunately I do not.
Yeah, no, like one character is fine.
Yeah.
So in one of the later scenario, because we were playing with only 2 characters,
Mhm.
and so we tried controlling 2 characters each. So there were more things happening on the board, clearly.
That's how I played the
But
Jaws of the
also-
Lion at first, with just one of my friends.
I don't know if it's better because you spend a lot more time thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna play those 2 because with my other character I can play those 2. Like it doubles the amount of strategy.
On the other hand, it
Quite
also
literally.
doubles the amount of no, not doubles, but increases the amount of challenge you have on the board, because there is a lot more monsters and stuff, and that's the main reason why we decided to play that way at first, when I only had had one friend to play with, because we wanted to have those big battles with many enemies. Because I need to say here that the amount of enemies and their type, whether they are regular or elite, depends on the amount of characters
Players.
played. Yeah, the amount of players. Yes. So with 4 players, they have the strongest enemies to fight and the largest amount of them.
Yeah, it can get really, really crowded actually.
Mhm.
Like let me switch back to this one. Like in this scenario, there are only 2 tiles. Feels really small.
No.
You remove them?
We play like it was explained by the author that we keep tiles hidden and we reveal them when someone opens the door.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it's the beginning. But anyway, like at any given time, there would be a maximum of what, 5, 6
5
tiles?
or 6 tiles, yes, it can get pretty big.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but it's not that big. Like it's super crowded. If you look here between the traps, the monsters, the players, there isn't a lot of wriggle room.
Yes, this comes down to the fact that the amount of rounds you have is limited to the before mentioned set of hand of cards which you have. So when you run out of rounds, then it's over. So they decided to make smaller, tighter packed places so that you get to actually move around without exhausting yourself.
Yeah. But then when you have like characters that have summons as well,
Yeah,
rooms do get crowded. I would say with
definitely
4
they
players and 2 summoners, it really gets crowded.
And then sometimes enemies, like for example bandit archers, they have sometimes ability to place traps next to them, which adds even more extra things to place on the board.
Yeah. But all of that, I would say, for anyone who plays tactical RPGs or turn-based RPGs, video games, you know those things.
Yeah, it really is as close as it gets to sort of like a turn-based tactical RPG from a computer, reimagined
really is.
as the analog
As a board
paper board game. It's quite ingenious, actually. I am deeply impressed how well the balance of the missions is. I can only imagine how many tries it took to come up with the layout of all the enemies and what goes where, just in order to create this sort of high risk, high reward scenarios, which they are, where, like you said, often you win in the last possible move. Someone had to design
Most
it,
of the
and
time.
that is quite genius, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And there is so much to it. And you might think, okay, but then you place your creatures and your traps, and there's no surprise. You still get surprise because, I mean, here you can see all of them. But for example, with the app, I don't use this to set up the game because you kind of have to go, okay, no, I'm not looking at this. I'm not looking at this. And sometimes you look. You can't help it. With the app, it shows you one tile at a time, so you really discover them. And there are things like this one, like there's a number 1, and special events happen when you get there. So it's still very dynamic. It's not here's a board, here are the pieces, and now deal with it. Things happen.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Boss battles are really, really cool. Can I see? Let me find a photo of. No, I've closed it now. Why did I close it? And I'd say it's too far. Enemies, we have those cards with those skills, and enemies have smaller cards. They're here, and it would be something like move 2, attack 4, or if there's some fire elements in play, do this, like different things. But the bosses have their own cards, and they have special abilities that can get triggered by various things, and it gets very dynamic for a board game.
Moreover, there are specific rules happening sometimes in the scenarios themselves. Like, let's say, the party enters the crypt, and the special rule is that everyone is scared, so everyone has to place extra curses into their attack
-1
modifiers.
or,
Yeah. I like this kind of little things which only enhance the atmosphere.
Well, you love hate it. You go, damn it.
Well,
But
yeah,
then, yes.
it is a disadvantage to the player, but I just can't help but admire the ideas put into that.
We talked about them briefly. You have those road events and CT events. Every time you go to a dungeon, to simplify, you draw one of those cards, and depending on your choices, one of 2 things can happen. And here you can have, I mean, what do we have here? Everybody has to give an item, or you lose 1 reputation, but you can gain reputation, or you can say, well, everybody loses 1 hit point, or everybody is cursed, and so you get a curse card.
Yes.
Or you get an item, and when you go to town, you get access to a new quest. Oh, there's something I did not mention. I did not mention that. Part of the whole campaign thing. You place your tile, you play, and let's assume you win, which is not guaranteed. I wish I could zoom more. But at the end of the scenario, it tells you, oh, you get this achievement, or you get this and that. And you unlock new locations.
Yes, and you
So when you
sometimes can
finish
unlock
the
multiple
scenario-
locations, which branches
Exactly.
the story.
And that's when you take this lovely big map and you have stickers. You put the stickers on them. Yes, I see
Yeah, you
them.
can see a
You have
couple of them placed on my board.
I see them. But you have the physical stickers, and you go, okay, 22, there it is. And it's just this
visceral
idea
feeling
of
doing this.
progress.
It's just so
It's like,
enjoyable.
I mean, if that's the sort of thing you enjoy.
It is.
But you progress on the map, you progress in the city, you progress with the achievements, you progress with your level, you progress with your cards, you put enchantments on your card to make them like there's so many ladders that you pursue at the same time. Like, even if you lose, you can play a scenario, lose, And just like a roguelite in a video game, sure you lose, but the gold you picked up is yours, the experience you earned is yours. So you can go back to town, get one of those city events that open up a new location and level up. And when you level up, you get to pick new cards and you can go and enchant things and you can go and pray to get better modifiers.
Yeah, in a matter of fact, if someone is, for example, an avid enjoyer of, for example, grinding in games, you can grind in Gloomhaven as well, because nothing is stopping you from repeating an adventure which you already have done before. So, for example, if your life goal involves, I don't know, killing a large number of skeletons, then nothing stops you from just repeating a certain crypt or something and just get more kills that way.
Mm-hmm. And with the grind, it's not the grind. Like the grind for me sounds a little negative when you think of MMORPGs where you're going to do the same quest all the time until you get 2,000 items. The grind can happen like you play the scenario and you win.
Yeah.
You win. It's like, ooh, but you didn't pick up that chest. And you're like, that chest is number 7, and at the end of the book, it tells you that chest number. You see, you have those. It tells you what is in the chest. But you find that out only if you have picked up the chest. So nothing prevents you from playing that scenario again, thinking, you know what, we're not here to win. We're here to get the chest.
Yes.
And maybe kill the extra skeletons because it's my life goal and I really want to achieve that. So there is a bit of a grind, but not.
Yeah, it's more like a
not
personal
something.
stories of the characters, more like maybe that would sound a little bit better than grinding. So there is the
It's
main
like,
story
oh,
which
you
you
go.
follow, but then you also have those life goals which tell you what your character wants, what your character wants to do in order to feel fulfilled, and you're supposed to play that character in a way where as often as it's possible, you want those life goals finished. So yeah, sometimes it leads to this kind of a situation where you need to repeat certain scenarios, but it does not happen often. Plus,
You
like
don't
we said,
have
there is
to.
over 90 unique scenarios. So add to that the fact that you need to repeat a couple of them. That is a long, long game.
Very, very long game. And one of my favorite things, there's the discovering things, the opening of the envelope, the thinking, yeah, after the next one, I should have enough money to improve my card. Which card do I improve? What enchantment do I want to put on my card? There's a lot of options. And there's always something. Like, you can say, oh, for the longest time, I wanted to get prosperity for the city. I wanted to develop the city so that I could enchant. And then I was like, now I need money. And then I was like, you know what? I really like the summons, but this one sucks. So I want to get to that level so I can get the better summon. There's a lot of things happening. All of them are progressing quite slowly, but there are so many things progressing at the same time that there's always something happening.
Absolutely, yes.
Am I making sense?
And their next game, the Frosthaven, I don't have it, but I've read that it has another layer of sort of progression where you build sort of like a frontier town. And you instead of collecting just pure gold from kills and from scenarios, you collect resources like, you know, wood, building materials, stuff like that. And in between the scenarios, you get to build your city just the way you want it to. So, for example, you can build a certain utility buildings, which will unlock things, stuff like that. I don't know the details because, like I said, I don't have that game yet. But it does sound quite interesting.
I looked at it not too much because I like there's still so much to do with Gloomhaven. You don't want to, you know, it's like when you start watching the first episode of a series and there's 20 seasons, you don't look at what's happening in season 20.
Definitely,
You
but
just,
I mean, just looking up the rules is fine, in my opinion.
I think from what I've seen, it plays very much like Gloomhaven. The game is a little more challenging, but the whole city simulation. Basically, we go, let's build a blacksmith so we can buy better weapons, or
Stuff like
let's
that.
improve the
Yes.
temple so we get stronger blessings. It definitely adds and collecting the resources and wood and things, which again, when you play a lot of video games, you're used to these systems.
Yes, it's you instinctively understand how it works if you've played a couple of computer games before.
Yeah. So how would we advise people to play Gloomhaven if they think they like it, but they want to avoid the worst aspects of it?
I would say start with Jaws of the Lion. See if you like it. See how you get see how you get slowly accustomed to the rules, because it comes with the nice 5 scenario tutorial which you can play through. And by the time you've finished, are finished with Jaws of the Lion, which by any means is nowhere. It's not like a watered down copy. It's like a full rules of the Big Brother, but it's much more compact. It does not take as much space. It's easier to set up. So that's a great way to introduce people to this system. And well, if you want more, then there is the big version.
I agree 100%. Jaws of the Lion it's everything it is, but there are fewer characters, there are fewer scenarios, but it plays the same way, where the learning curve is not so punishing.
Yes.
So it doesn't. You don't go like, oh no, I don't know. I will never play that again. You don't get overwhelmed by it.
Yes. It gradually adds the complexity as you play through the initial scenarios. But after those, each scenario is just the same difficulty as the regular Gloomhaven. So it's not like an easier version or anything. It's just different. It's just shorter and faster to set up. Also,
and honestly, yeah, go ahead.
The second thing, if you find the whole micromanagement very time-consuming and hard, then the before mentioned by you application is a great tool to help with that. But having said that, I believe this game is not for everyone. I believe you need to have this certain amount of like critical thinking in your brain in order to be able to enjoy it. Because even with the app, even with all the aid you can have, you still need to have a lot on your head all the time when you play, and you need to control a lot of things.
It's not a casual game. Definitely
yeah,
not.
definitely not.
But it's super rewarding, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way for people who do enjoy the computer RPGs to try something outside of their usual computer space and see how things play in real life with the real people.
That is one of the reasons why I wanted to play board games, because it's nice to play with people in 3D rather than in 2D on the screen.
Plus, it's the whole atmosphere. Like we are always looking forward to a day when we play. It's like a mini event of sorts. Everyone prepares some food to bring. Then we set up the music. We sit down. We set the game, and it's a great way to spend an afternoon or a late evening, depending on how long the scenario takes. Sometimes it's 2.
Let's say a couple of hours.
Couple of hours,
especially
easily. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get down to business and the game is set, it could be less than that. But I don't think it's the sort of game you want to rush through it anyway.
Yeah, even just planning ahead all the moves and whatever happened, that just takes a lot of time. The actual drawing of cards and moving the monsters, that's probably the faster part of the scenario. The bigger one is thinking what to do and how to survive.
I agree. For me, the best way to play the game is start with Jaws of the Lion. It's everything Gloomhaven is, but cheaper also, because if you pay 150 quid for a game and then you realize that you don't like it, that's 150, dollars, euros, pounds that you've lost. It's like you can always sell it back, but so better to start with a smaller one. If you like it and you play through the whole thing, it could be that you've had enough. Like, there's people who play Morrowind, they loved it, they're happy they've played it, but they never were curious to play Tribunal or Blood Moon because they've had enough of the game. I think it's the same thing with Gloomhaven. You could play Jaws of the Lion and realize that was cool, I liked it. Now I want to play something else.
Also, Jaws of the Lion is compatible with Gloomhaven, so you are able to use, for example, the envelopes from Jaws of the Lion to add the extra ones there, the tokens. Even the characters are compatible. If you want to, you can grab the character from Jaws of the Lion, which are unique to that game, and play them in Gloomhaven.
They're essentially the same games, with one being more compact. Ways to enhance the game is have music, especially if you want to go for something atmospheric, have space for it so everyone is comfortable. I quite like the app that reads the introduction, and sometimes in the middle of scenario you open the door and there's a little bit of text to read or to listen to. I like those. They add to the atmosphere. And if you want to reduce the upkeep, honestly, Neb, I really like the way you do it, where everyone does a fraction of the upkeep in the way that it's not boring for anyone, but everything gets done.
It's not boring. Also, it helps with keeping everything correctly played, because had I have everything on my head and was I doing it by myself, there is a big risk of me, for example, forgetting a certain thing and so on. But if everyone is involved, then everyone pays attention also, which is very helpful, because everyone knows what's happening, and they look what I am doing, and they often point out, for example, that, hey, you forgot to move this character, you forgot to include this status, stuff like that. If they had nothing to do, I bet they would be just sitting there looking at their phones or something and waiting till they can move their character, which is not probably ideal.
What would you say is the best player count for Gloomhaven?
I would love to have a full table for people, but I have 3, and one of us is playing 2 characters. So we always play with 4 characters. I have not tried playing it with 3 characters or 2 characters. But the way it is set up, it always makes me feel like having fewer characters is sort of like a problem to this game, because you have fewer enemies, you have smaller amount of hit points on some of the enemies because of that. So I have a feeling that it was meant to be played with full 4 characters.
Full party.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree. We play 2 players. We've tried 1 character each, 2 characters each. It's perfectly enjoyable. Then again, we use app to reduce some of the upkeep. I think when we were doing everything without using the app and keeping track of the monster hit points and status and everything, the game felt quite slow. So I would recommend 3 or maybe 4 players as well. Yeah,
with 2 players, the app, I think, becomes almost mandatory, because it's much easier to, like I said, forget to move a monster or miss some rule, and there is there's only one other person who can sort of point that out. While the more people there are and who are paying attention and who know the rules, the better the game runs, because everyone knows how everything should go, and if someone moves something the wrong way, then it's easy to point that out. Although, having said that, sometimes things happening not according to the rules is only adding a little bit of spice to the things.
I agree. I agree. Like sometimes you go, oh, I forgot I had the bleeding status. I should have died 2 turns ago. But you know what? It's not like I cheated. It's just
yeah, and then
that's
you
the
can
way
just
it is.
think like
I
your
got lucky
character
and
was so
fate.
into the fight that they just ignored the bleed and just kept going.
It's the Boromir factor.
Yes.
You have 10 arrows, but you just keep going.
Yes.
So even when that happens, that's kind of cool. That's one. Oh wow, a raid that hasn't happened in such a
That's
long
a
time.
massive raid. Hello, everyone.
It is also a large raid. Welcome on in, everyone. We're talking. We're not even playing anything. Welcome on in. We're just talking about Gloomhaven, even though there are cliff faces everywhere. But
It's totally
that's
like
nothing to do.
Morrowind. It's like a Morrowind on the table. Yeah, totally.
You say that. I was talking with different people on Discord, Morrowind modders, who also play board games, and they said that the seventh continent reminds them of Morrowind in a way.
Well, it is
And-
unique. The races are unique, and Morrowind is also unique when it comes to certain things. So there is that.
True, very true. Also, let me try to zoom. I can't. Okay. It's everything or nothing with this. Let's try to find Gloomhaven again. We should be somewhere there. And there we go. When I went through this, and it was between open world and dungeon, I picked dungeon and Gloomhaven, but the other game was the seventh continent. That, according to Svang, a fellow modder,
Yeah.
is quite similar to Morrowind, but in a board game.
That sounds wonderful, actually.
So yeah, that's something that's quite high up on my list of games I'd like to play. But again, this takes a long time. So
I can see it's also a large one with many stacks of cards and stuff. Looks pretty cool. I have not heard of this
the
one before.
seventh continent is I think you have tiles. Like there we go. The way you play the game is you have tiles. Show me photos.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this.
I see it's from
You
the
play
same year
styles.
as Gloomhaven.
So you have your characters and you place a tile and there are things to explore. So that could take quite a lot of time, and that could, scratch that open world itch that,
I can
that
see
we tend to
that.
have quite often. So there's another one. When you're done with Gloomhaven and Frosthaven in 20 years, you can look at this one.
Maybe I'll get to even use a couple of miniatures from that one when I finally 3D print them all.
Honestly, you can. We bought some nice coins that we use for 2 different board games because, well, might as well.
Right.
I do like the whole customizing and improving your board game aspect, even though that's just a lot more money for you to spend as well. But I do like that as well. So some pieces go, yeah, we have Dune Imperium, and I just bought the most beautiful tokens for the spice. Just love them. Really love them.
Yeah, and
Doesn't change the game, but
this whole customization topic, it also is nice for like personal hobby skills and stuff. You get to paint things, you get to learn 3D printing. It opens up quite a lot of skill which you can develop in real life. It's very useful.
Definitely. It's like that. It's a bit. You know what? It's like Morrowind. There's Morrowind the game, and there's modding. There's the other game behind the game.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, and modding also gives you this extra skill in like which is quite useful. For example, when you want to become a developer for making games and things like that, 3D designing. So in this case, it's more like the craft skills which you develop.
Yeah, that. It appeals to different people for different things. Oh, and the best part is like if you like painting your miniatures, go ahead, and you're going to have a great time doing that, and your game experience will be enhanced because there's your mini that you painted, or you can not, and you still enjoy the game. So nothing is compulsory.
Yeah, absolutely. It is perfectly
Now,
enjoyable just out of the box.
it is, as long as you have space.
Mhm.
I've seen actually on the photo that I haven't opened there, the tiles for the dungeons, you have them on the floor, ready to be selected for the next scenario.
No, I have them. I have all of the tiles sorted. They have numbers. They have letters of alphabet as the way to sort them, and I've just placed them literally from A to M or whatever they are. That's how I have sorted them. So now when the scenario tells me pick, I don't know, A2, M1, and F3, I just zoom through the floor, pick the corresponding tiles, and I'm good to go. There's no need to do anything extra.
And you know what? Working out the best way to store the game, place your game, play your game, is also a game within the game. Like I really enjoy deciding, okay, I got those little boxes, and then here I put these tokens, and I have this thing. This is where I'm gonna. I like sorting that out.
Yes,
Just
I really
planning
like your
how my game-
foam sorter. It is really compact, but it keeps everything tidy and everything
fits
is
in the
its
box.
place.
Fits in the box. So my game fits in the box, which is nice.
Excellent.
All right. I'm a little curious, chat. If we haven't lost you already, what are your impressions? Like, there's so much to talk about the game. It was not nearly as organized as I would have liked, but there's just so many things that we jump from one to the other. But based on what you've seen and what we talked about, are you like, ooh, this could be interesting, or I don't think that's for me? I don't know. Where do you stand? I'd be very curious to know.
Yeah, me as well.
Bon matin, Morrowind modded. We're not playing Morrowind today. But we will tomorrow, by the way.
Some things never change. And
No,
Renee should
sometimes
always
some
play
things
Morrowind.
And I have my latte companion, so it looks fun, but I currently don't have a group to play with. That's the problem with board games, right? You could play on your own, but I don't think it's nearly as fun. For sure. What do you think of the? I don't know if you know about it. There's a website called Board Game Arena. I think it is Arena, that lets you play all kinds of board games like digitally.
Yeah, there is this board game simulator thing, which I've seen.
There's a couple of them. The Board Game Arena really has like the big titles.
I'm sure it might have Gloomhaven because it's a massively popular title.
I don't think Gloomhaven is in this one.
Okay, but I'm sure that the simulator has all the things.
They do.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's a good way to play a board game, like a simulator, a computer simulator?
It's the only way to play it for many people, because nowadays people just live in entirely different countries and they just work together, know each other. So this is probably the only way to play for quite a huge chunk of population.
Yeah, even though we lose the whole
physical
there's
aspect
an
of it,
envelope.
but
What's in it?
yeah.
Can
But
I see?
the rules remain the same. The fun remains the same. I would say, yeah.
Like the thinking, the strategy thinking is there.
Yeah.
You could even say it's prettier. It's prettier because when you play the board game, you have those standees. When you play the video game, you see them, they're animated. That's kind of cool. You see the summons being summoned, that sort of thing. So it's more lively, I guess,
I've
in a
seen,
way.
I don't know if this is released and I don't remember the exact name of it, but I've seen a project which was sort of like a board game simulator, but in virtual reality. And you put on the goggles and you literally just sit in front of the virtual table with everything and you move it with your finger.
There's actually, I don't remember which, there is already a VR game that's, oh, there's Catan. Where is it, Catan? It was there, Catan here, which is apparently one of the legendary board games. Quite old now, maybe 20 years old, but it exists in VR. I don't know, I love VR. I love VR. I don't know that I would love a board game in VR, but then again, if you can't have people around the table, that's the next best thing for sure.
For sure.
Let me catch up with Variel. Can't play locally, so the board game version isn't for me, but I'm definitely going to get the video game because the whole game concept and style and art really impresses me a lot. You won't get the opening of the shiny box thing. Do you want me? You know what, Variel? If you play the game, you tell me. I have unlocked the character. I can get my little envelope and open it for you, like record it. So you'll have it by proxy. I don't know. Still not the same, maybe. I must say.
That's one way.
But you know, just looking at those envelopes, it's just so. And there's like 16, 20 of them. I don't remember. Where's the photo? No, you don't have it here. There was another one. You have all of these envelopes. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And now I really want to play the game. So I'm going to put some pressure on Audel to play with me again. Sorry. All right. Well, I think we've covered quite a lot of things.
Well, that was a wonderful discussion, and the time flew really fast. From what I can gather, we've been talking
yeah, it's been
for
more than
2.5
2 hours.
hours almost.
Yeah, and the worst thing is we could surely talk even longer.
Unfortunately, that is true. Or maybe fortunately.
But you know, it's quite funny because I now talk to people who are board game enthusiasts and they go, oh yeah, this game, I have it, but I still haven't played it. And I'm like, why would you buy it if you don't play it? And then I realized that my video games, my Steam library with hundreds of games, and there are so many I haven't played.
You still
So
have
I really
Morrowind to
hope-
beat, right?
Yes, to beat, to mod, like. But I honestly, even without Morrowind, I don't know that I would have played through all my games. But I can't imagine having like, you know, dozens of board games and not playing them.
That's why I decided
feels
on
sad.
one, and I am sticking to one until I am finished with it, and then we will see. Because I could see myself also buying a bunch and just making a huge collection, but then in the end, it would just sit there with a dust pile growing on it without anyone touching them. Because the time is limited. There is this factor where you need to have your players with you, so everyone has their life, everyone has their free time and certain times. So even just dedicating a single session a week has been quite a challenge to get everyone together. Like I could only get 3 people, including me, to play this. I couldn't find the 4th one because just the time constraints. There is very hard problem with that.
Agreed. It's a time investment. Well, actually, financial and time investment.
Well, about the financial one, if you compare this to like I know, like buying a single, especially older computer game like Morrowind and then playing it for 20 years, then definitely it is a large money investment. But if you, on the
You're
other
taking an
hand,
extreme case.
if you, on the other hand, compare it to something like trying to build an army for Warhammer 40k, where a couple of miniatures can cost a huge amount of money, and you need to buy a lot of them in order to build an army to be able to play, then I think having everything in one box, ready to play for, like you said, 200 euro or however it is costing
100,
today.
I think
It is
150.
150. Then it is quite manageable, and you have everything packed together. You don't need to buy a separate set of miniatures to play, like that Warhammer game.
Agreed. Or if you compare with games like Magic the Gathering,
Yeah, that is
where
also one where
you
you just keep
sink so
buying
much
new
money.
stacks of cards just to build your deck. This is much larger money investment.
Yeah, agreed. And we talked about comparing with video games where nowadays you pay 30, 40 euros or dollars for them. And if there's 10, 15 hours of gameplay in there, you're lucky, I feel.
Yeah, plus I
So-
think it's quite educational in a way, where having to keep track of all the situation happening on the table, having to control the enemies. I think I developed quite a lot in form of like my memory skill, and generally I seem to be like more attentive to detail thanks to all the
Yeah,
all the
because you
weeks
have to
spent playing
focus.
it. Yeah.
This is what we should tell parents. Yes. Let your kids play board games. They'll get smarter.
I think honestly they definitely would, especially people who like have short attention span, because you really need to focus for a long while in order to play it. Although
Then again, if you have really short, don't start with Gloomhaven.
don't
maybe.
start with Gloomhaven at all, yes, because this will lead to a lot of broken tables then.
we don't want broken tables. All right. I think we're going to call it a night, Neb. Thank you so much for spending the last couple of hours talking about a board game with me. That was super fun.
Absolutely, I enjoyed it as well, and happy to do it again whenever you come up with some idea for a chat.
Tell me
or
when you
whatever.
finish Gloomhaven and you pick your second board game, and we can talk about this one.
Well, I'd be happy to join the chat whenever you decide to chat about something which I don't know with someone else. That would be great as well. Thank you very much for the time.
The next board game we will talk about is Dune Imperium. I have 3 board games. Okay, so it's gonna be Dune Imperium. I don't know when it's going to be exactly, but it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't think I know somebody who has played it, because I really enjoyed the talking with someone rather than me talking at the chat. But I can do that as well, I guess.
Well, yes. All right.
All
then.
right. Well, Neb, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure. Chat, thank you so much for spending time with us, listening to us rambling about a single game for 2 hours. I'll see you tomorrow playing Morrowind, and later.
Yes.
Later for sure.
Have fun, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.